Okay, guys, Rooster in Tennessee here. Guess it's going to be a little bit of story time and just a little bit of a discussion. Maybe a FYI video. There's a lot of new people getting into the hobby and trying to start them off right. Keep people from being misled or having unnecessary problems. Even if just a handful of people see this video that are new to the hobby, maybe it will help them out. First thing I want to say to everyone out there watching this, do not hook an amplifier to your system if you don't have access to an antenna analyzer or you don't own an antenna analyzer. I don't care what watt meter you have, whether it's a Dosy, Paradynamics, a Bulldog meter. Unless you have a bird meter and you're checking reflective power to tune your antenna, do not trust any watt meter. MFJ, even I sell Workman stuff. Don't trust the SWR setting on there, okay? I've seen it too many times. The watt meters are inaccurate when it comes to SWR. They're hit and miss. You might have 5 of them that read right and then 25 of them that read wrong. And it can be a very costly mistake, particularly if you're running a transistor amp, because the transistor type amps want a 1.3 SWR or lower. And this antenna analyzer will ensure that you have a good match on your antenna. SWR is very important for the performance of your amps. If you have a high SWR, you risk several $100 worth of repairs, and it's not to be trusted with a cheap watt meter. Now, if you're very serious into the hobby and you're spending thousands and hundreds of dollars, trust me, it's a worthy investment. If you're just a basic hobbyist, go in with a friend of yours and buy one of these and share it between you, or find a local technician that has one. They're only a couple $100. I understand that's a good bit of money for some people. You think it's an unnecessary expense, but the repair bills you may have because you don't have one of these will exceed it. We'll get into showing how this thing works here in a second, just basic demonstration, but I just want to share with you guys my experience with this. 15, 16 years ago, I didn't have an antenna analyzer. My brother and we were talking on the radio a good bit, just getting into it kind of. I think I've been in radio for 21, 22 years. Got in it when I was a kid. And we didn't know about antenna analyzers. We just always used a dosimeter. And I had a 4-pill. It was an X-Force. And I kept blowing transistors. I'm like, what the heck? I don't know what's going on here. Something's wrong. The amp keeps blowing transistors. My SWR is fine. On a dosimeter, it was like a 1.2, 1.2, whatever you want to call it, and couldn't figure out what was going on. Lo and behold, we got a hold of an antenna analyzer, and this thing was like a 1.8, which is way too high for a transistor amp. That is a surefire way to blow transistors. I can tell you locals that I've had use analyzers and showed the analyzers, they would say they had a good SWR. Their Dosy was showing a 1.3 or a 1.1. You hook an analyzer up to it and it's a 1.7, 1.8, 1.9. Maybe you've had that experience. Again, I'm just using Dosy because that's a very common meter, but other meters are the same way. Maybe you have good experience. Maybe your Dosy reads spot on. If you do, congratulations. I hope it stays that way. Still recommend an analyzer. Now, the antenna analyzer, you can do all kinds of stuff with it. With your feed line, with your antenna. I mean, there's all kinds of in-depth stuff you can do. We're just going to look at the basics of it today. This is AA30. I don't even know if they make this model anymore. It takes 2 AA batteries, and I've only put one set of batteries in it since I've had it. But I don't know if they make these anymore. I think they make a 35, but this is just a real basic one, and it does what I need it to do. So you can set your frequency with it, which we've got set for channel 20. We've got it hooked up to the dummy load over here. And then we'll just hit show all. Now you've got a couple different readings here. The main ones that we're worried about is right here, SWR, and then right here where it says 47.8, 48, it's moving around a little bit. 48 ohms, that's the main two things you want to worry about. Now X, you want that as close to 0 as you can get it ideally. SWR, you want a 1.3 or below. The way this analyzer reads, it would be a 1.3 or below. And your impedance, 50 ohms, 52 ohms, 2 ohms on each side of that is fine. That's my rule of thumb. Obviously, if you have 44 ohms, it's not going to kill you. If you have 56 ohms, it's not going to kill you. But you want to be around 50 ohms, 50 to 52 ohms, close as you can. Generally speaking, if your SWR falls in line, your impedance is going to be pretty daggum close. Now, this is a dummy load. A 1.1 SWR would be great. We're even lower than that. So basically, lower than that, you're just splitting hairs. A dummy load is pretty much a perfect. It's not necessarily a perfect match, but it's very close. I'll say that. No, I guess you'd say nothing is perfect. My antenna outside probably has a better tune on it than the dummy load. I think my antenna is a 101 and 50 ohms or 50.1 ohms or something. But these are the basic readings you want to look at: the impedance and the SWR. Now this is a 104, 105. That's not to be confused with a 1.5. If it was a 1.5, it would be too high to test our transistor amps on. So I recommend everybody to get one of these or have access to one of these. I can tell you it's happened before, guys. Obviously I move a decent amount of amps come through here and stuff, and I can tell you that it's unfortunate that it has happened. That doesn't happen all the time. It's not a frequent issue, but happening at all is too much. I have sold amps before that worked perfect here. Test them on the dummy load, they work perfect. Somebody gets it home and they key up and talk on it for a day, or maybe they key up and talk on it for an hour, and they let the smoke out. Now, obviously you guys know, as customers, I'm guilty of it myself. When something happens, a lot of times you say, oh God, there's something wrong with the amp. It's got to be the amp's fault. It's got to be the problem. The amp has to be the problem. It's nothing I did. It was working just fine, and it let smoke out. Got to be a problem with the amp. Well, I'm going to tell you guys something. Like I said, this doesn't happen often, but generally when it does happen, this is why. If someone comes to me with that problem, first thing I ask them is, what was your SWR? And they'll say, oh, it's perfect. It's a 1.1. I'll say, okay, what are you measuring your SWR on? Well, I've checked it on my dosimeter. Okay, that is a problem. Because like I said with my two stories before, I've seen dosimeters show perfect. And I've shown the same antenna would show high on an analyzer. So, and I tell you guys, I'm not making this up. I've had people that had that issue. I'm like, well, get an antenna analyzer and check it, and then let me know what you find. And a lot of times they'll come back and say, man, you were right. It was a 1.5. It was a 1.6. It was a 1.7. And there you go. And that's why you had an amplifier failure. Now, that's not always the case. Different things can happen. People can accidentally overdrive. And in a rare instance, there could be something wrong with the amp. I'm not saying that that's never the case. Hey, I've had out of 1 out of 100, I've had one amp fail here on the test bench. But that's why I thoroughly test them before each customer gets them. But that's a little bit off subject. Listen, moral of the story, buy an antenna analyzer. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, well, he's probably selling these. I am not selling these. I may sell them in the future, I don't know. But I don't currently sell these. And you don't have to buy this brand. Get you an MFJ or something like that. They work just fine as well. I prefer these. I think they're a little more rugged. Especially now. I don't particularly trust the new MFJs as much. They seem to tear up a little bit more. But these things are pretty rugged. I've dropped this thing, done everything with it. So no, I'm not selling these. This is not a sales pitch. I'm not getting paid to advertise. All this is trying to save you guys some money and some trouble in the future for blowing up amps and stuff like that. I can't tell you how many people have been blown away when they hook an antenna analyzer up to their antenna system and say, my God, I had no idea that my SWR was this bad. and it could save you a lot of money in the future. All right, guys, that's it. Handy tool, rig expert antenna analyzer. I recommend it. It's a necessity to me. I would not even put an antenna up without using an analyzer. Hope you guys enjoy. Questions, comments, complaints, let me know. Shoot me a text. 423-299-3535. Rooster in Tennessee. See you, bye.